Welcome back to Political Soul Food, y'all. It's Monday night. It's about to talk some politics and what's going on in our nation. It's always a delight to be here and talk to y'all and grow our minds and our understanding about our political society. And it's also great to stay informed on the different machinations used by the Trump administration and the GOP. I see GD Stokes just signed on. I just want to say what's up. Holla, holla, holla. It's good to see y'all. So tonight we're going to talk about banks. Why banks are running away from private prison investments. That's what's on the table tonight. There's an article that I'm going to share. In fact, I'll share it with the Political Soul Food group here on IG. So if you're in that group, you're going to get a link and you can follow through. And if you're on Facebook or YouTube and you want the link, just let me know. I'll send it your way when you request. But right now, we'll give people a chance to chime in, and we're going to get started on this. This is very important to know, very important to be aware of. So let's jump into it, all right? Political Soul Food. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back. We got Dr. Marshall in the house. Hey, Dr. Marshall, how's it going? How's it going? Welcome back to Political Soul Food. It's good to see y'all out here. It's good to converse with your brilliant minds and concerned souls. So tonight's topic: big banks are stepping away from private prisons, and so I'm just posing this question out here: Why? Why are they doing that now? This is based on an article I read in the Washington Post. And so I'm going to right now just toss this over there to the Political Soul Food group on IG so that those of you who have access can just grab this link up. So let me just see if I can get it in here right now. Should be able to do something like that. Let's pull this up. Let's pull this up here and see if we can get to that group. I'm sure we can. Let's see. Political Soul Food. Here we go. All right. So for those of you who are in that group, just check out that link. I just sent it. And let me just swing back over here to the main screen for myself. There's much to talk about. There's much to talk about. Basically, what's happening is activism is causing big banks to stop investing in private prisons. And I want to see why. And the reason why we want to know this is because this could be a tactic used to further dismantle other oppressive, unjust policies or trends in our society. And there is some success happening at the moment. So this is an article called "Banks Bow to Pressure to Stop Profiting from Trump's Immigration Policy, but Big Techs Remains Defiant." So, all right, fine. It's not a perfect scenario here, but there is something that we should be aware of and consider implementing. First things first, so what the article does, it brings out some of the big banks and major banks that are saying, you know what, we don't want to mess with private prisons, especially given that Trump's immigration agenda is attached to private prisons. It's exploiting private prisons. And the recent bank to step away, which is really making this big news, is the largest national bank, that is Chase Bank. So having Chase Bank step away from private prisons shows us that this is more than just a trend or something that's just passing by or just a gesture or a concession. Banks are now seeing that it costs too much to look bad in the public's eye. The reason why is because activists are now calling out the banks that are facilitating these kinds of policies by investing, right? So the whole idea of private prisons is it says, well, if you have money, you can make more money by investing in this company. And when that happens, the company that wants to be successful, the private prison, needs its its goods, it needs its product, and its product is going to be incarcerated human beings. And so that is going to impact how that particular company, the private prison, lobbies politicians, more restrictive policies in terms of policing and court cases and decisions that the judge would make. They'll judge more harshly or extend time for crimes or activities that don't really need to be avenged with jail time. So, so this business here, this private prison business, it has a direct connection to policies, judicial policies, policing policies. So we can see how this is just a domino effect. Now, the pull away from these kinds of corporations, private prisons, the pull away from that is going to have an effect. I think it can have a positive effect in the way that you're going to discourage people from building private prisons, which would be that there would be fewer people with the money or interest to lobby politicians for certain laws. They're going to find some other scheme or some other business or investment. And who knows what that is? Could be worse. I don't know. But at the moment, private prisons is definitely something that we need to attend to. Although it is clear that public prisons, the government's prisons, state prisons, are actually housing more people. However, we can set a trend, a culture, by dismantling private prisons, which will reduce the sort of mindset that we need to have more people in jail. And I think that could also translate into a more robust discouragement of, a justice system that preys on people because it's just not financially profitable. So all the way around, I just think that this is a good thing. So let's see here. Let me read a line here. The writer for this piece is Tracy Jan. So here's like her punchline. President Trump's zero-tolerance immigration policies are forcing corporate America into a tricky calculus. Embrace the business opportunities presented by the expanded immigration detention regime, or heed the backlash from the public and even their own employees. Now, look at this. This is very important. Notice the backlash. The backlash to these policies is what is important, which means that yes, you, me, everyday people can make a change. Now, for those of you who are probably sick and tired of me talking about go vote, guess what? Here is something to think about. Now, this is a strategy that is largely successful not through voting, through exposing these companies. And I've seen some emails. I don't know if you've seen any emails, but I've seen posts on Facebook and even on Instagram with a list of companies that are engaged with Trump or engaged in private prisons or engaged in all sorts of stuff. And when people found out about it, what would happen is people would stop doing business with these companies. It happened with Uber, right? Remember the president of Uber kind of hooked up with Trump, and then after everybody realized, and then people were jumping ship from Uber, going to Lyft and other car service companies. Uber was like, yo, hold up, I gotta distance myself from Trump, right? So now it's really bad that it takes something like this for us to realize the power of our collective effort. But hey, it's better late than never, they say. But what's nice is that first we have this backlash. This backlash is this awareness, right? It's a viral awareness of what is going on, and then now people responding to it, not just being aware, but saying, hey, you are investing in a crime against humanity. And a lot of this business like to make themselves look like they're for the people. And once they lose that image, what happens is people, when looking at commercials, begin to make different choices. They begin to choose other banks, begin to choose other corporations, and that ends up in a loss of money. It ends up in a loss of money, and that's what's happening across the board, not just with private prison. You think about Nike. When Nike stepped up to support Kaepernick, it made a lot of money. So it's almost like it's more profitable to be at least viewed as a company that's for the people, and even more exponentially more profitable to actually team up with social activists or policymakers who are doing things that are positively impacting the majority of America, which is the multicultural constituency in America, right? I think, in short, people want that. Businesses, corporations want that Wakandan money. After after our boy Black Panther just blew up, I think people are like, there's a wider market. So this is like one of those interesting places in time where capitalism and white supremacy are now beginning to be at odds. The corporatists are saying, we're in a global market. I need to make this money. But the world, the global market is largely people of color. So they're like, this is not working. What we're seeing are a lot of banks who are investing money in private prisons. They have a lot of locations in immigrant areas. And there's a lot of money going through in and out, circulating in the immigrant community. Now, when they're put on notice through these activists who are out here, the people in these communities are going to make, slowly but surely, they're going to choose different banks. And that's tapping that pocket. And Chase was like, we cannot afford to do that. We cannot afford to let this rock out because we will no longer be the one of the largest banks in America. Well, if we are, we won't be in first, second, third, fourth, fifth place, and we don't want to lose that standing. In fact, let me read something from here, from the article. Activists who waged a 2-year campaign against Morgan's investments hope that mounting public pressure will prod other financial giants, such as Bank of America, to follow suit. But they acknowledge that it is much harder to persuade tech firms such as Amazon, Microsoft, and others, Palantir, to withdraw from lucrative federal contracts with agencies charged with mass surveillance and deportation. All right, so there is 2 parts to this story here, but I'm focusing most on the first part. We took the second part. In short, what activists have been doing, they've been showing up at meetings when the CEOs or others are around and having like mariachi bands playing or just blasting like, hey, it's immoral to invest in private prisons. Now I know they're like, Dak, how do they know that? And so once that gets publicized, like I said, it gets viral, and then people in these communities start realizing, hey, a particular bank, this bank, is actually aiding and abetting the separation of children, aiding and abetting these harsh immigration policies that Trump loves. So, what's the lesson here? What's the takeaway from this? The takeaway is that there are other strategies. There are strategies other than voting that we can use, that we're supposed to use combined. And that is activism. This shows that activism can work, but we have to act, right? So it's not just making these lists and calling out, what politician is doing what, but we also have to respond. Respond with that money. Respond with that dinero, okay? And so sometimes that may lead to a small inconveniencing of your time. And like for me, when I see a local store mistreating certain people over and over and over, I might have to they may make an amazing smoothie that I love, but to make my point, I have to go to another store, and then sometimes that store is like 2 or 3 blocks away. So yeah, there is some sacrifice, but I mean, hey, Our first world problems don't compare to a lot of other problems. So for me to walk to another bank or just learn how to make smoothies myself, which would be even cheaper, it's not that much to pay for trying to get some positive change out here. What's up? What's up? Let me holler at my boy over here, Wayman Davis, up here on Facebook. What's up, y'all? What's up? So, I think that this is really cool to know. Protesters out here, if you're protesting, if you're, an activist, I applaud you. Thank you very much for stepping up. And now, for those of us who might not be on the front lines, we should support this action by again moving our money in ways that can give us leverage, and that might mean supplying a competitor with our money, with our business. If we target certain businesses that are harmful to our communities by way of supporting certain initiatives, right? Now, I'm not saying Chase Bank is just out there harming. Well, I mean, in the Harlem community and other communities, it is partly responsible for a lot of the gentrification that's going on. So that's another battle that I gotta talk about, and I will soon. But just knowing that certain businesses on the surface, on the facade, they are smiling and they are like providing a service to a certain degree, allowing people to have access to getting, if not a loan, at least a place to hold their money, so that it's not stored away in their closet. Um, but it's more to that. What we're saying to these companies is, said, listen, you're either with us or you're not. I mean, that's what it is, right? I mean, it's bad enough you're already aiding and abetting the 1% status quo, but to go even further and to destroy the lives of human beings, quite literally, by putting money, making money off of people being imprisoned by these unjust laws and unjust maneuverings to make this country white again, then you're going to lose some money. This is what we got to do. There's a lot more in this article. I really recommend that you check it out. What I wanted to bring out of here is that here is another element of change that is happening. But because every bank is probably not on board at the moment, or just because the policies are still sort of in effect, and just because there are a lot of private prisons still up and running, we have to see that in order for our goal to be realized, there has to be a starting point. All right, we're not even white supremacy was established with, in a snap of a finger. It was built much like how Rome or any great edifice or any powerful or dominating entity was, piece by piece, brick by brick, day by day, war by war, battle by battle, whatever the case may be, but it was bit by bit. And that's what we have to recognize. We have to recognize that. And so the rate of change is not always, I should say the opposite. It's never really fast, right? In most cases, it's not fast. I would like it to be fast, but it's not always fast. Some things may turn over quickly, but it's usually because of other people's hard work, and I've just come around just to enjoy the spoils of other people's labor, and that's why people who think that change should just happen radically, they don't really know what they're talking about. So there are changes happening now that we should be mindful of. Now, what other banks are you or myself, are we banking with with an institution, financial institution that is supporting private prisons? That's the question we can ask ourselves now. Check and find out. I reopened an account recently with Chase, and yeah, all right, they step away, they get rewarded. We got to work piece by piece, and we'll keep doing this until we get to where we want to be. All right, and so there's another bank that pulled out. I want to mention U.S. Bank pulled out. So we're not talking about small time banks. We're talking about a lot of big banks. Fargo is definitely like maneuvering away. And basically, and again, I'm not saying that they're doing this because of a change of heart. They're doing it, frankly, for the money. I mean, they're saying it. They're saying this, frankly, for the money. In fact, let me quote someone so it's not just me pretty much uh, making stuff up here. So I had a great quote from Chase, and let's see if I can find that quote here. So the spokesperson for Chase Bank said, "We will no longer bank the private prison industry." Spokesman Andrew Gray, and there's a and so Charles Geis, an economics and finance professor at Manhattan College, he basically summed it up. He says it will all boil down at the end of the day to whether or not the profit or potential profit is worth the risk, including public exposure, right? And so people are, are weighing this not as a moral issue, as a financial issue. So I'm sorry to say that much, right? I'm sorry that I can't say, oh, we got to change your heart, but we know that it's not about change your heart. You're not going to be able to change mindsets, even with law or policies, but we can change the policies that are impacting us in a certain way. And I think that is what is critical in this situation. Noticing how we can change the policy. And this is happening through activism, right? Now, just because it's happened through activism, we also need to contribute on the electoral policy side so that we can develop a defense against such encroachments of, terrorizing policies. Right. And so, in other words, it is an activist, after an activist does his or her job to bring attention to an issue, then we have to supply corrective measures. And so we got a question here. How do citizens contribute? I want to say what's up to Laura. Thanks for sliding through here. Well, one way is, as I was mentioning here, today's talk is about why big banks are taking their money away from private prisons, and that's because they're being exposed, and many of these banks have branches in immigrant communities who are supply a big percentage of their money. So banks don't want these people to go to other banks. Chase doesn't want to lose his clientele. So what we can do is, with our own money, is say, hey, if we recognize that there is a particular corporation just servicing our community by investing in a harmful policy, then we should take our business somewhere else. So that's one way, as citizens, we contribute. Where we put our money, where we spend. And it could be something as simple as supplying money for the lesser evil, depending on where you are, right? And that will create this supply and demand sort of war. Now businesses want to think, how do they win back their clientele? Well, then maybe we should do something even more generous for the community. Maybe we should show ourselves investing more in policies that are helpful. Maybe we should say we support healthcare and invest money in better healthcare service. So that's how we can do this. One of many other ways which we will touch on. So we have this activism, but acting on it by being aware of the corporations that are supporting harmful policies. So that's the lesson of this article. And I would say again, being aware that it's happening. It would be horrible to not know that the work that activists done so far have gotten some of the largest national banks to say, we had enough. Now it's our turn to roll in and keep supplying that pressure. And it'll be definitely something that we need to keep in mind when we choose the next president of the United States, and also our local politicians. This is how we make this kind of change, y'all. This is a great example of showing that all the change is not going to happen via voting. A lot will happen, but that needs backup. And the backup is our activism, is also where we place our money, which stores we shop at, right? Understanding and then doing some basic research every once in a while to figure out if the organization that we work with lobbies, for guns, lobbies for a wall, lobbies for more money in the military. We got to be aware of that. And oh wow, another question: how do we move decision making into town halls and participatory budgeting? Well, that comes from, I think, certain individuals who are interested enough, unfortunately, and that's going to be very few people to raise these issues with their family and friends, or in fact, actually to join and help organizations that are already on the front lines, right, in our local communities. I mean, there are a lot of people who are already out here trying to make change. There are already organizations, like a lot of people don't even know the work that the NAACP is doing, and other organizations, different organizations that are fighting for labor unions and stuff like that. We need to learn where these organizations are, what they're doing in our community, or maybe create a branch or district to help to do that in our community, and that will help move decision making into the town halls, because we are the town halls, in fact. So it's just raising our voices about these issues, and obviously we're not going to be able to persuade everybody all at once, but we definitely can get these issues out there, and the more we talk about them, the more they will saturate the public discourse. And I think it starts off with that. People have it's almost too expensive in America to be politically active. It's very expensive. So just because we talk to certain people and they don't seem to follow through, it doesn't mean that they're not really interested, but they're probably trying to pay rent. They're trying to send the kids to college, all sorts of things that are going on in their lives that are impacting them in the here and now, and so they don't always make it. But if we keep reminding them, and we also help them to carry that load, perhaps just put them simply on an emailing list, get them to agree to that. Maybe we have to create our own emailing list. I mean, who knows what that may be for you and for the people you have access to. And this is more like bottom up stuff, right? Bottom up stuff is nitty gritty. And this should give us an idea of how tall the order is, because a lot of people just think, again, Obama could have just did this, or we could have just did this. Why Pelosi didn't just do that? And this person could have just did that, and not realize what they're up against. All right? And so to get a taste of what they're up against, go to someone share your political views, and see if you can get them to a town hall meeting, or to just sign a piece of paper to advocate for an issue. It's tough out here. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for tuning in to Political Soul Food. I'm on patreon.com, which is where you can support what I'm doing. Feel free to check that out. It's Patreon, patreon.com/Kassan Henry, as it's spelled on the social media platforms here. Feel free to check that out if you want to find ways to support or find other things that I do. I have a podcast called All About Barack Obama, which is really good. Someone said it reads. Someone said it reads like an audio book, because I put background music that I compose to it and all that stuff. And you can find that on SoundCloud. And all these videos go on YouTube. So if you miss one, feel free to check it out. I try to go live from Monday to Thursday. And so yeah, it's a lot going on there. You can follow me on Twitter too if you want to collab on some political discourse and stuff like that. Listen, if you want to call in, we got maybe 1 minute, so I'll take a call in, which is 202-505-0250, 202-505-0250. That's the Political Soul Food call-in number, so feel free to hit it up if you want. I got 1 minute left before I got to shut down here. But again, thanks for showing your support by just chiming in. It's much needed, but make sure you get out there and do what you can do. Do your bit. Maybe just encourage someone, get somebody back in school, remind somebody to go vote, put something up on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube to remind us of what's going on around us, so that we can make good decisions and work together. All right, y'all. So I'm going to call it a night. Peace and love. IG. Good seeing y'all. Thanks for chiming in. Good night. All right, Facebook, y'all. Thanks for coming through. It's good to see all y'all here. See y'all tomorrow. All right. Peace out.